Henrietta Miles was a woman of strength and grace, living a life filled with love and resilience. At 50 years old, she had already faced her fair share of challenges, but nothing could prepare her for the devastating tragedy that would soon unfold. Married to her husband for many years, their bond was characterized by deep affection and mutual respect. They shared dreams, laughter, and hard times, creating a comforting world that revolved around their family. Before the tragedy struck, Henrietta worked diligently to support her family. She could often be seen in her garden, nurturing beautiful flowers that seemed to bloom as brightly as her spirit. Neighbors admired her determination and hospitality. She always welcomed anyone who needed a helping hand or an encouraging word. Her home was a sanctuary of warmth, where love was the soul of every gathering. The couple found joy in simple pleasures, family dinners filled with laughter and long walks in the park during twilight. Henrietta's husband was her partner in all things, steadfastly standing by her side through life's twists and turns. She often spoke about how they complemented each other perfectly. He made her laugh when she needed it most, while she encouraged him to pursue his dreams. As the looming shadows of racial tension grew more pronounced in America, Henrietta remained hopeful that kindness and understanding would prevail. However, everything changed one fateful day when violence shattered their peaceful existence. The stark reality of living in a society riddled with hatred and prejudice struck hard when she lost her beloved husband to a brutal act of racial hatred. In that moment of despair, Henrietta's strength would soon be tested further, as she faced not only grief but also the challenge of moving forward without him. In 1964, America was a nation grappling with deep-seated racial tension and injustice. The civil rights movement was gaining momentum, as brave individuals and communities fought tirelessly for equality and an end to segregation. For African Americans, life was filled with daily challenges that often included discrimination, violence, and the constant threat of hatred. During this time, African Americans faced numerous dangers. Many were denied basic rights, including access to quality education, decent housing, and fair employment. The streets could be hostile places, where the color of one's skin often determined how one was treated. Fear lingered in the air, as reports of racial violence surfaced regularly, illustrating the brutal reality many families endured. In both northern and southern states, protests erupted as activists demanded change. Civil rights leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and countless others inspired hope while facing significant risks. They organized marches, boycotts, and sit-ins, capturing the attention of the nation while shining a light on the injustices plaguing African Americans. However, their efforts often came with violent pushback from those resistant to change. Henrietta's community felt the weight of this struggle daily. Neighbors shared stories of harassment and fear, as well as moments of courage that sparked small victories. In the midst of this turmoil, families like Henrietta's clung to their values: love, support, and resilience, helping them navigate their harsh reality. Yet, the fear of violence was always present. For Henrietta, losing her husband to a racial beating was a tragic reminder of how vulnerable they all were in a world filled with hatred. The era was defined not only by great challenges but also by extraordinary bravery, as people stood together in pursuit of justice and equality. This backdrop shaped the lives of many, including Henrietta, as she faced unimaginable grief while being part of a community yearning for change. The day Henrietta lost her husband was a turning point that shattered her world. He was a kind man, known for his laughter and warmth, and their love had been a steady light in her life. However, that light was extinguished violently when he became a victim of a brutal racial beating. The details of that fateful night were painful and haunting. He had simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time, caught in an act of hate that was all too common in their community. As news of his death spread, shockwaves rippled through their neighborhood. Friends and family gathered, sharing tears and memories while grappling with the weight of their collective grief. The impact of such violence extended far beyond Henrietta's home. It affected everyone who knew him and served as a stark reminder of the dangers lurking in the world around them. Families were left to question their safety as they mourned the loss of loved ones taken too soon. Henrietta found herself engulfed in sorrow, struggling to comprehend how someone she cherished could be taken away in such a cruel manner. The days that followed were filled with planning for the funeral, but also with an overwhelming sense of emptiness. Each corner of her home felt haunted by his absence, the echo of his laughter no longer filling the air, and the shared routines now disrupted by grief. As she navigated this heartbreaking reality, Henrietta realized she was not alone. Countless other families endured similar tragedies due to racial violence. This shared pain created an unspoken bond among those who suffered losses, fostering resilience even in despair. While Henrietta faced her own sorrow, she became acutely aware of how deeply violence affected families, leaving scars that would take generations to heal. It was both a personal tragedy and part of a larger narrative that continually unfolded across America, a story marked by heartbreak but also the strength to seek justice and healing amidst chaos. In the midst of her crushing sorrow, Henrietta felt an overwhelming need for support. She knew that the loss of her husband would not only affect her but also resonate throughout their community, where many shared the pain of racial violence. As she pondered her next steps, a thought began to take shape in her mind, a quiet hope that perhaps Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a leader she deeply admired, could lend his presence to comfort her during this difficult time. Despite understanding the demands on Dr. King's schedule, Henrietta decided to extend an invitation to him for her husband's funeral. She sat down with pen and paper, pouring out her heart as she wrote the letter. Her words expressed not only her grief but also a longing for solidarity in the face of such profound injustice. While she secretly hoped he might read it and respond, she also braced herself for the possibility that she would never hear back. Days passed, and life continued to feel heavy and uncertain. However, deep down, Henrietta found solace in having taken that small step, reaching out to someone she believed could understand the depth of her pain and the struggle for justice they both faced. What she did not expect was the reply that came later, a response that would change everything. Dr. King canceled a media appearance to honor her request and decided to attend the funeral alone. This gesture spoke volumes. It was more than just an acknowledgement. It was a powerful act of empathy and solidarity during a time when Henrietta needed it most. When he arrived at the gravesite, it was not marked by cameras or crowds but rather by an intimate space where two souls shared their sorrow and sought understanding amid tragedy. Henrietta's decision to reach out had transformed into a moment of grace, one filled with compassion and connection in a world often overshadowed by hate and division. When Henrietta received Dr. King's response, it felt like a glimmer of hope amidst her overwhelming sadness. She had sent her letter with little expectation, fully aware of the demands on his time as a prominent civil rights leader. Yet, the news that he would attend her husband's funeral was a profound surprise that filled her with a mix of disbelief and gratitude. On the day of the funeral, Henrietta could hardly contain her emotions as she prepared for the service. The weight of loss hung heavy in the air, but there was also an undercurrent of anticipation, knowing that Dr. King would be there to honor her husband's memory. His decision to cancel a scheduled media appearance spoke volumes about his character. It was a testament to his dedication not just to the movement, but to individual lives affected by racial violence. As Dr. King arrived at the gravesite, he was met by a somber yet supportive atmosphere. There were no cameras or crowds, only a small gathering of friends and family who understood the gravity of the moment. Henrietta felt a sense of comfort wash over her as he approached, recognizing that this was more than just a public figure showing up. It was a compassionate human being joining her in her pain. For nearly 2 hours, they shared a conversation that transcended words. Dr. King listened intently as Henrietta expressed her grief and the challenges that lay ahead for her family and community. In that intimate setting, he offered not only condolences but also words of encouragement that acknowledged her strength and resilience. Their dialogue became a shared moment of grace, one where both found solace in their understanding of the injustice inflicted by society. This unexpected response from Dr. King transformed Henrietta's burden into a powerful reminder that even in the darkest times, compassion and solidarity could shine through, bridging the gap between personal loss and a collective fight for justice. As Henrietta stood by her husband's gravesite, the weight of sorrow surrounded her. In that moment, It felt as if time had suspended itself, creating a sacred space where grief could be shared and understood. Dr. King's presence brought a sense of comfort. It was a reminder that she was not alone in her suffering. They began their conversation softly, both aware of the deep sadness that lingered in the air. Dr. King listened intently as Henrietta poured out her heart, sharing not only the pain of losing her husband but also the fears that plagued her about the future. She spoke of their love, their dreams, and how his absence felt like a gaping hole in her life. Dr. King's compassionate demeanor encouraged her to express fully what she held inside, a mixture of grief and anger at a society that allowed such violence to occur. As they talked, the connection between them deepened. Dr. King shared his own reflections on loss and injustice, drawing from his experiences in the fight for civil rights. He acknowledged the heartache that came from being part of a community that suffered under oppression, but emphasized the importance of resilience and hope. Henrietta found solace in his words. They resonated deeply within her, as if he were validating her pain while also urging her to find strength amidst despair. For nearly 2 hours, they engaged in this intimate exchange devoid of any distractions or media attention, just two souls united by grief and a shared commitment to justice. In those moments, Henrietta felt understood for perhaps the first time since her husband's tragic death. Their conversation was not just about mourning, it became an affirmation of life, love, and the collective struggle against racial violence. By the time they concluded their meeting, both Henrietta and Dr. King had forged a bond rooted in compassion and understanding, a connection that would linger long after they parted ways. It was a reminder that even during the darkest moments, human connection could light the way forward, offering hope for healing and change amidst overwhelming sorrow. The 2-hour conversation between Henrietta and Dr. King at the gravesite unfolded in a unique space devoid of media and public scrutiny, allowing for an authentic exchange of feelings and thoughts. In this intimate setting, they shared the raw essence of grief, an emotion that transcends race, background, and social status. It was a moment defined not by the political turmoil surrounding them but by the deeply personal impact of loss. As they engaged in dialogue, the themes of healing and unity emerged prominently. Henrietta expressed her pain not just for her husband but for the countless others who suffered due to racial violence. Dr. King listened attentively, offering insights that resonated with her experience. His words were not merely comfort, they were a rallying cry for resilience in the face of despair. Together, they acknowledged that grief could unite people, creating bonds that foster understanding and empathy even amidst societal division. This conversation also served as a powerful reminder of the importance of connection during times of sadness. Henrietta found solace in sharing her story with someone who understood the broader context of her pain, how it related to systemic injustice, and the fight for equality that so many were engaged in during that era. Dr. King's presence was a testament to his belief in the value of every individual life lost to violence. In their discussion, both Henrietta and Dr. King recognized that healing could begin with small acts of compassion and solidarity. They spoke about hope for future generations, envisioning a world where love would triumph over hate, a world where families like Henrietta's would no longer have to endure such heartbreak. As they concluded their meeting, it was clear that their connection had transcended mere sympathy. It had become an affirmation of shared humanity, a call to action against injustice woven into their personal narratives. This moment at the gravesite became etched in their memories as a powerful instance of how grief can lead to unity and inspire collective resilience in the fight for justice and peace. Throughout their heartfelt conversation, Dr. King provided Henrietta with insights that proved to be pivotal in her journey through grief. As he listened to her, he not only validated her sorrow but also offered her a different perspective on how to channel that pain into something powerful. Henrietta realized that her grief was not just a solitary experience, it was part of a broader struggle against injustice that many others shared. One of the most significant aspects of Dr. King's support was his emphasis on the power of community. He spoke about the strength that comes from standing together, especially during times of tragedy. Henrietta felt encouraged by his words, understanding that while her personal loss was immense, it was interconnected with the collective pain experienced by families like hers across the nation. This realization planted a seed of purpose in her heart, the idea that her husband's life and the circumstances of his death could inspire change. Dr. King also stressed the importance of hope in the face of despair. He reminded Henrietta that grief, while deeply painful, could forge resilience and lead to action. By choosing to honor her husband's memory, she could be part of the movement for racial justice rather than a passive victim of violence. This message resonated deeply within her, lighting a spark that countered her feelings of hopelessness. As their documented talk unfolded, Dr. King encouraged Henrietta to engage with her community, to share her story and advocate for change. This guidance resonated with her. She realized that instead of being overwhelmed by grief, she could become an agent for transformation, channeling her love for her husband into efforts that would honor his legacy. In reflecting on their conversation after it ended, Henrietta felt a newfound sense of strength and clarity. With Dr. King's encouragement and insights firmly etched in her mind, she began to envision a path forward, not just for herself, but for others grappling with similar pain and loss. Their meeting had become less about mourning and more about awakening the call to action against the injustices faced within their society, ultimately influencing Henrietta's journey toward healing and empowerment. The moment between Henrietta Miles and Dr. King at the gravesite was not just a personal interaction. It represented a significant moment in the broader tapestry of the civil rights movement. In 1964, America was rife with racial discrimination and violence, and individual stories like Henrietta's highlighted the deep emotional toll that such societal injustices inflicted on families. Her grief mirrored that of countless others who had lost loved ones to racially motivated violence, revealing how personal tragedy is often interwoven with public struggles for justice. Henrietta's decision to reach out to Dr. King exemplified the courage many individuals displayed during this tumultuous time. It showcased the yearning for solidarity and connection in a world that could feel overwhelmingly isolating. By inviting Dr. King to her husband's funeral, she symbolized the hope that one voice could resonate with another, transcending barriers imposed by systemic racism. Their meeting embodied a profound sense of unity against oppression, a reminder that each story, no matter how personal, contributes to the larger narrative of change. As they discussed grief and resilience, their conversation illuminated key themes of the civil rights movement: empathy, strength through community, and the unwavering belief that love can conquer hate. Henrietta realized that sharing her pain was not only an act of mourning but also an act of defiance against the forces that sought to silence her community. It reinforced the idea that hope could be birthed from sorrow, fostering a collective resolve to fight for justice. In reflecting on this moment in history, it becomes clear that personal stories like Henrietta's serve as powerful catalysts for social change. They remind us that behind every statistic lies a human experience filled with love, pain, and hope. This connection between individual experiences and the broader struggle for civil rights underscores how vital it is to listen, empathize, and stand together in pursuit of equality, a lesson that resonates through generations and continues to inspire activism today. The profound exchange between Henrietta Miles and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at the gravesite serves as a poignant reminder of the enduring importance of compassion and community support in the face of loss. Their 2-hour conversation, stripped of media distraction, highlighted how personal stories can illuminate the collective grief and resilience born from racial violence. Henrietta's journey through sorrow transformed into a call for justice, emphasizing that remembering those lost to such brutality is essential in the ongoing fight for equality. As we reflect on their meeting, it becomes clear that compassion is a powerful force capable of bridging divides and fostering healing. Dr. King's presence not only honored Henrietta's husband but also symbolized hope for a future where love triumphs over hate. This moment encapsulates the essence of the civil rights movement, reminding us that individual tragedies resonate within a larger narrative of struggle for societal change. The legacy of Dr. King is enriched by stories like Henrietta's, which remind us that behind every statistic lies a human life marked by love, loss, and a quest for justice. These narratives are vital for understanding the emotional toll of systemic racism and the collective strength that emerges when communities unite in support. They serve as a call to action for future generations to continue advocating against injustice, ensuring that the memories of those lost are not forgotten but celebrated through efforts to create a more just society. In remembering Henrietta and her husband, we acknowledge the weight of their story while drawing inspiration from their resilience. Their experience reinforces the idea that, even in the darkest moments, compassion can light the way toward healing. It is through connection and solidarity that we honor the past and build a future rooted in understanding and equality, a legacy that Dr. King envisioned and one that must continue to inspire our actions today.